Okay, I think we'll start. We'll do the Pledge Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, welcome everyone. Ted Bonus is not here. That's our first order of business is Ted, the fire chief, got a letter from Marcus Molinaro, the county executive, that they were, I'll read the letter, it's short. Pleased to inform you that your entity, the fire department, has been awarded $200,000 through the 2022 Municipal Investment Grant Program for the following project: construction of a training facility. We received over 40 applications requesting more than $5.4 million in funding compared to the availability of $4 million. We look forward to working with our municipal partners and fire and rescue agencies to continue and promote efficiencies, long-term sustainability, shared services, and community development, while ultimately generating savings for taxpayers. The grant term will be October 1st till September 30th, 2024. It's a reimbursement program. All project expenses must be made within the term of the grant and are subject to the county's procurement policies. You will soon receive an email from the Department of Planning and Development requesting information to begin the process. So basically, what Ted told me was that we still have the Tedesco house over there, which we've been planning to tear down. We've been postponing it because of COVID and the fact that to remediate, to get rid of this dilapidated abandoned house, we need to remediate any contaminants that are inside of it. We don't think there's much, if any. Might be some ceiling tiles or some floor tiles. The fire department, because they use the property to practice retrieving people out of cars and things like that in their jaws of life, they offered to pay half of the haul away fee, which was about $4,500 at the time. We have postponed this project because of the remediation and cost and to the taxpayers and stuff. But now we've been offered by the fire department, and I'm not sure exactly how much they're willing to give us, but the remediation, the tear down in the hallway was estimated to be around $18,000 to $25,000. When I mentioned that to Ted, he said we'd be glad to pay that with this grant because that would help them. We would leave the foundation and they would build whatever type of building they want to, to set on fire and practice whatever they all do. So I just wanted to make everybody aware of that at this point in time. I'll be in contact with Ted, and he's talking to the county on the fact that, we'll tearing one structure down, putting another one up, be covered and all that stuff. So that's that item.
So can I ask?
Sure, absolutely.
So the contaminants that are in the house, do we know what might be in there? Like, would there be asbestos?
Well, I've been in the house many times. It's electric heat, so there's no pipes covered with that, with what would look like asbestos in the basement. There's no furnace. The kitchen and a breakfast area has a tile floor that may be asbestos tile, and the whole house has ceiling tiles like these. And sometimes the house was built in the 70s. Usually by then they didn't use asbestos in those tiles. I was told that by a remediation guy, but they would have to test it. And I don't think there's any lead paint in there. That would
so they are going to test it before they...
We have to, because the haul away guys will not, we have to have a certificate that
we do.
What we tear down has been remediated.
Say, for example, the tiles are asbestos by a long shot. Like, would this 200,000 cover the...
We have no idea. We have to hire a company, do the testing, and then find out what we have.
Okay.
And then we go from there.
Okay.
Okay. Good evening. Our next agenda item is, I'm really proud to say that we have hired and she accepted a new full-time rec director, and that is Danielle Salowitz, if I said that correctly or close to correctly. It'll be effective September 21st, and it's a 40-hour-a-week job, and we have the salary down, and
I'll make the motion
all right,
to accept
second,
Danielle as our
Second.
new recreation director,
second,
effective September 21st.
all right, and we have a second.
I'm sorry, I
Mike,
didn't hear who this.
Mike made the first motion, Mary, and
Leslie
Leslie is making the second.
And we're going to vote. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. So it's unanimous. Danielle's appointed, and she should stop and see you, Mary, at some point.
Yes, I've been in communication with her
Okay.
via email already.
So Danielle, we're all excited to have you. You make sure you get all our cell phone numbers if we can help with anything. I'm sure you have Mike's already. So we'd like to take it to the next level at some point in time, and we hope we can get there and do everything as smooth and as well planned as we can. So,
Just to give some background to the public, we had an unexpected opening. We went out for RFPs. Danielle responded. Extensive background, has worked for our town camp a number of years prior to her accepting the position of Assistant Recreation Director for Pleasant Valley, which she has held for 2 years. Yes. We went through not only an interview by the town board, but we also went through an interview process with the recreation board. And everybody came to an agreement that she came across very, very well. And in fact, she's very well known in the community because she's also running the daycare center up at Lyle, and has been doing for a number of years. So welcome. We're thrilled.
We're
I
thrilled.
can't wait for you to start.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, welcome.
Yeah, we're very lucky to
Yes.
have Danielle as well. Really, very, very lucky.
And,
So,
and we want to help if we can. So thanks again.
So if
and-
you wish to stay, you may.
Oh, but
It's a
you,
little boring.
no.
Okay.
Okay. Next item on the agenda is to introduce local law number 2 of 2022, our code of ethics. And if you guys want to say anything, our committee is partially present.
I guess.
Everybody's here. Yeah, the three.
Wow.
The full committee is here.
Okay.
Jeff, I'll defer to you
Okay.
for remarks.
I'll simply say that I prepared a resolution of introduction. I've circulated it. I've asked that it be posted on the town
It was,
website.
yeah.
It was, okay, great. You don't have to read this into the record because it's very long. For seeker purposes, this is a type 2 action, so you don't have to do anything there. I'm not sure if it needs to be referred to county planning because it's not a land use law. I'm just going to check on that. If we need to make a referral, we will. So someone will move the adoption of the resolution, someone will second the motion. Within the body of the resolution, you're scheduling a public hearing for next month's meeting, so
Correct.
October 13th at 6
Mhm.
o'clock.
I'll make the motion to accept
Your
from the
second?
committee the revisions and extension of the code of ethics for the town of Washington.
I'll second. Mary, did you get that?
Yes, I did, thank you.
You're welcome.
All in favor?
right.
Aye.
Aye.
And again,
Unanimously-
thank you, committee.
Right, and so
Excellent
it's,
work. Excellent work.
yeah, it's open for public comment
Yep.
at the next meeting, so would we want them here? at that
Yes, if
meeting?
you wish to come,
Yes.
yeah,
Be here.
you probably should attend.
Yeah, we'd love to have you here. I don't think
People
we're
may
going to
have
get much
questions on
comment. but
process.
Yes, yes.
What's the date? October?
October
13th.
13th.
We will be here.
Great,
Okay,
thank you.
Thank you for being here tonight.
thank you.
So it was so moved.
Thank you all so much.
No, we had a thorough discussion at the last meeting.
Yes.
And so all we did between last meeting and this meeting was to reflect the comments that were made, that there weren't that many, but they're incorporated and circulated for review. So, so we really take whatever public questions and comments are at the next meeting. After after it becomes law, at that point, we'll embark on a training program for everyone
Marvelous.
in town government and others as well, but the focus will be on our town employees and
Nice.
Thank you.
Terrific.
Wonderful.
Did a great
Really
job.
terrific.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for all your
Thank you,
work
Betsy,
and efforts.
Laura.
Thank you.
So it's been very cooperative, in my view, and I think the rest of the community as well. I will say, that's the least important for the public.
I don't know about that.
There we go.
I can show up to the party. Yeah, but, this town is very lucky to have some of the citizens that are willing to put in the work.
And we're well
Yeah.
aware of that.
Important.
Yeah.
The experience that these two ladies have, I'm really blessed.
Yeah, well, Betsy, don't sell yourself short either.
Exactly.
No way, don't do that, Betsy.
No, I want to be invited, don't worry.
Okay.
But I've enjoyed working with them tremendously, I have to say that.
And we'll get you some,
Likewise.
we'll get you some more help too.
I
Well,
can,
we
I
have
could-
so much from that.
yeah, I could speak for her ethics.
That's wonderful.
That's for sure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, you're welcome.
Pam,
Thanks.
Laura, Betsy.
Thanks. Next agenda item is adoption of a revised resolution in the matter of the Stallion Park to include the omitted revised agricultural exemption. And I see our assessors here, so maybe she could speak to us about
Yeah,
it,
so
just real
essentially,
quickly.
it's the same settlement, it's just that it didn't reflect the agriculture exemption, and that is, yeah, this is like with Article 7, the attorney's drafting it, petitioner, I think, Rockville. It just was missed by the street.
Right.
And then, our attorney.
So is this a revision?
Yes, it just, well, it's not
Yeah.
a revision in the settlement, it is just reflecting this net, the agriculture exemption.
Okay,
So it's essentially the same. It also gives us an additional 90 days to meet the payment.
oh, that's good.
To have the other going out boards and so forth. Be ready.
Okay. And you have all the paperwork from them?
Well, everybody does their own calculations, and then we do our own.
Right.
So we do the refund.
Okay,
So
so
we
we
need
need
a
to,
resolution.
we need to vote on that resolution.
I'll make the motion to accept as drafted.
Second?
Okay.
Second?
And a second.
Leslie seconded.
Sure.
Mike made the motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Unanimously approved. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Joe. You can give us your report?
Clark Road, the drainage study has been completed. You will be getting, you guys will be getting that, obviously. We're still awaiting the boring samples, which have been delayed a couple of weeks.
When will we get that drainage survey? Do you have any
No
idea?
idea. No idea. I suspect when the boring samples are done. I suspect you'll get all this together. But I just, if you want to get into it with them, I've got their numbers, your box, Joe, and your box, Bob. There's a specific engineer.
Okay. All right.
The truck is on site. We received title yesterday, have an appointment at motor vehicle on Monday. Will then be fitted for the plow, sander, at Hudson River Truck and Trailer under the Onondaga bid.
It's at there now, Hudson River, or it's here?
It's here.
Oh, it's here.
I can't get it done, I gotta get it. Registered and all that. Templates. We're gonna start grading on, next week. Hopefully it won't rain all fall. But, we've lost our water truck. It's ancient.
The dump?
It will be at the dump at some point.
No, I mean, it is a dump truck.
Large dump truck, yes, a very large dump truck, but it's been carrying, let's see, 8,000 pounds of water for years and years and years. But So we refitted one of the dump trucks. I do need a motion from you to allow me to go to bid for materials at the end of this month.
What materials?
All of the materials that we use.
Like sand,
Sand,
slab,
yeah,
the winter,
all the
yeah.
salt, we've already.
the winter
we're on
maintenance.
county bid for salt.
Okay.
I don't think we need to vote on that,
I
do we?
think I need a motion, I believe.
You do?
To allow me to do that, I'm pretty sure. We usually go through this, whether or not you
Okay.
have to or not, I'm not sure.
Do we need to do that, Jeff?
I don't know the answer to that, but I would do it to be on the safe side.
Yeah,
Okay.
okay.
Yeah.
So let's make a motion to allow Joe to go out to submit the bids like he usually does every year for materials.
I'll make that motion.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
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 So, I want you to think about this, since we are down a guy, and since we do have issues sometimes, with men, being sick or whatever during the course of the winter storms, I'd like to possibly hire a couple of part-time workers. I know we've discussed this over and over. But this year, since I'm not filling that spot, I think it might be a good time to try it. I'd like you to think about the range, salary range for them.
Okay.
I've done a little research. 23, 24 is what I'm getting. I haven't called a lot of places that would be.
So you're talking about part-time guys?
Yeah, part-time guys, there's no.
Just in storms,
Would that be for this calendar year, budget year?
Budget year,
Or
yeah.
would that be
Well,
projected
No,
into 23?
we already have part-time employees. So since we have an outstanding salary which isn't being paid, I was thinking maybe for this winter, okay?
But then you would also project that into the 23
I would.
budget? Okay.
Well, it's unforeseen that we don't have this person.
Right.
So,
So Joe, are you going to hire seasonal or as needed?
I'm gonna ask maybe Jeff to look into the terminology because there are provisions for seasonal workers as opposed to part-time workers, as opposed to emergency staffing. The difference is that you can actually, I believe that anything under 40 hours a week, I may be wrong, I may be 35, is part-time. However, under certain conditions, which are emergency conditions, and/or seasonal conditions, and I'm not sure of this is what I've been talking to other superintendents about, that you can hire for as long as you need. Not that I probably would do that, but if we got a, perfect storm like we have before, I needed them, then yeah.
And you think that part-time, Joe's better than looking for a full-time, another full-time person, or do you already have that?
I'm going
Line
to
in the
need,
budget.
I'm gonna need probably 2 full-time people coming up next year. Because 2 are leaving.
Retirement.
Yeah.
I see.
So,
Joe, do you have any part-time people in mind for the job? You do?
I do.
Okay, that's good.
So,
So we get the answer from Jeff and then,
well, I think it's, I can always abide by the less than the 40-hour time if I have to. But if we did have an answer, and it was, I believe, the town of Pleasant Valley, and I haven't called them yet, actually has a part-time guy that works right along with the other guys. But I'm not sure what his designation is.
yeah,
And I'll look into the salaries a little bit, but I think that's the range that we're looking at.
yeah, I may have a couple of names for you too.
Huh?
I might have a couple of names for you too.
Yeah.
We'll be looking at the same structure for
Divide by Dutchess
the rec
County.
next year.
Yeah,
Up at the
yeah.
park.
Not sure for part-time?
Mhm.
Not
They
sure.
are part-time.
Yeah, well, we may have, I think I had
Yeah.
broached that with Mary at one
Yeah.
point, that
Yeah,
we may have to say, hey, we're hiring, we're including these part-time positions.
okay, we'll get to work on that. True.
Okay.
Do you have a comment, Mary?
No, I don't.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Is that it, Joe?
I think so.
All right, good luck with the new truck. How
Chuck,
soon?
if you
I was
want,
gonna say, do you mind if I jump just one part about
Absolutely.
the septic before you leave, just in case? So, last month, if you recall, Tim Colopy came and said the village would like to pass a resolution to allow town residents to hook up to the village septic. And he asked if we wanted to include any provisions in their resolution that relate to the town. So following that meeting, Joe and I and Gary and Tim and Vicky met to kind of talk about, we wanted to understand what residences what we're talking about, where and what kind of issues do we foresee, potential issues of town residents hooking up, and what would that entail? And so we have not kind of come to a total resolution about exactly what all of the things. We're still waiting to hear back from James a little bit. Jeff is going to get back to us on a few things. And I think we did come to the conclusion that if someone does want to hook up to septic, they're going to have to bore under the road as opposed to chopping through the road. But on a good news front, Joe's done some investigating with VRI. Is that right, Joe? Who is sort of the infrastructure engineer, right, for the village. And it looks like there already is tubes the
there
right
appear to
word?
be,
Pipes.
there appear to be,
Barrels
Okay.
from the main line.
Okay.
there appears, there appears
Okay. There's ways
to
to hook up.
that we know of, maybe, that we know of. There is a manhole on a property, which obviously is hooked to the sewer on the other side of the road. The distance is probably negligible for some of the homes with pitch, but Scott says that he believes there is another pipe crossing over, and if it's sized correctly and can accommodate some of those homes, then it's sort of a moot point as far as boring under the road. The only reason I suggested boring is because if 5 houses were to cut their own
Yeah,
specific path through to hook up to the
It'd
sewer
be a mess.
main,
yeah.
I'd have to re-blacktop that road.
Yeah.
Is-
So it may be not an issue on the west side of Halcyon, but you may get into it in other areas.
So is this a specific area
Well, that's what we were discussing, a specific area.
of people? Yeah, okay. And then who pays for the hookup?
I don't know, that's all the villages.
The village has its own.
Like the resident would pay for
Yes,
it?
the resident would pay for it. The resident would pay. What we haven't figured out is what would the fee be, for the resident to the town, because the town's going to have to inspect to make sure there are no, electric or other lines before they start digging, that the contractor is licensed, all that kind of stuff. The question that I had, the village is having a meeting next Thursday night. I think they'd like to pass the resolution at that time. My question was, can we put broad language in about the resident requiring town approvals, and before we've actually completely,
We could probably put some language maybe that each individual person that wants to hook up, we'd have to investigate Joe.
Yeah.
And VRI would investigate what has to be done, and they'd have to come in front of us to find out if we're willing to allow it.
Yeah, I think.
Because each circumstance could be different, correct?
Exactly. I think that what we were thinking is that the first stop would be to go to James, and then James would have to get just like they would for any permit, would
right.
say, okay, you need to go to Joe, there'd be a whole step, and depending on where the person is next to these hookups, where the residence is, and we figure it out from there. If there's any uniform thing, like we need a certain amount of money, and that's, I don't know, I mean,
So this is sewer only, I want to be
Sewer
sure
only.
that no water.
No.
It's not water, apparently the
on the
water,
road.
yeah, they don't, what did Tim say about that? There was a question about that, it's just septic, I don't know how the village's water,
They didn't address the water.
Yeah.
I mean, if somebody comes to them with it,
yeah,
they have to do it case by case basis.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think you can access it on that. off of that.
No, not in
Yeah.
Halcyon, but there's other roads. Maybe
There are,
Hill.
there are,
Yeah,
there are.
Water,
yeah.
road,
So-
water, and sewer.
so I'll work with Jeff, we'll circle back and check with James, we just met on gosh, Thursday or Friday of last week, that whole group, and then, we'll see, Jeff, if it makes sense to put in broad language, and then we can kind of
Situation.
internally determine what the requirements are for an applicant. And again, it's going to be case by case, and James is going to know, but if there's anything we want in escrow, which is what
Right.
the village
It's
is
quite
doing.
generous for the village to offer this.
Yes,
you
for
know.
sure. It's very nice.
Well,
of them.
they'll collect fees on it,
Sure.
right? You know, and
Yeah.
I can see why water might not,
$5,000.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
not chump change.
No.
yeah. The initial
And
fee,
the line's there.
right,
The
yeah.
line is
Yeah.
already
But then they'll get a
on
sewer
the
bill, you know?
Well, in this particular place.
In this
it's-
case,
Yeah.
yeah, I think you Skip ran all of them on House to the west side.
Mhm.
That's what he told me.
Yeah, I think so.
I don't know about Maple Hill. What to do.
Do you have water and sewer? You do.
So more to report there. There's nothing for kind of approval here right now because
Yeah.
we haven't sorted it out yet, but Joe, am I missing anything else?
No, I'm wondering if the village really has the lead here, that their proposal would include language pertaining to the town. Clear, if you want to hook up, you can, but you have to see the town first, et cetera, et cetera. They're sort of going first, they're sort of, going to adopt this, it seems to me like they're in a hurry to do, but maybe Jeff should contact them and say,
Yeah, I think their adoption resolution should include a provision that it would be subject to any approval procedure that the town
Yeah.
establishes.
And
Yeah.
I think that's all that they're looking for from
Right.
us is just that. So
Some-
I think
something
some
that's
broad-based
simple to do it.
language like that should cover it.
Yeah.
I don't know if we need, if we feel like the timing is, if it's possible for us to offer some sort of provision like that, Jeff, between now and their meeting next Thursday. If we do think that that's possible, then I don't know if we need to do a resolution now just to say that the town board, presuming that we all are, that everyone else will give a permission for us to do that pending your approval or whatever language we think that you, Jeff, think makes sense, or what do you think
Mhm.
about that? Or do you
Is
want
it
to
like
see
a
it again?
provisional thing?
Yeah, like just a provisional approval based on our advice of counsel. I mean, right, for whatever provision.
I think you could
Well,
make
we
a
have a-
motion for council to submit language to the village for inclusion in their approval resolution.
That's perfect.
And then we'll handle the applications.
Want to make the motion?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
I'd like to make a motion that the board will allow the town's attorney to provide language to the village for their resolution to allow town of Washington residents to connect to the village's
Perfect.
septic or sewer line.
Great. Can I hear a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Can I speak?
Absolutely.
Yeah, so I think, see what the village's protocol is when they have hookup, how they do it. Does their building inspector handle it?
the town,
They have that.
I know it's the town, but then our
They do.
building inspector, oh, they do, so we could do a similar process for that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they actually use the plumbing inspector, not necessarily the building inspector, which is URI,
okay,
I believe.
Yeah.
great.
Mhm.
Well, the village told me that they already were having them do an inspection.
Yeah.
That was part of my fee,
Yeah.
was them to do that inspection, just so you know. So if it's the same company,
Yes, it is.
yeah.
Okay. So
That's
you're,
fine, whatever language I draft, I'll circulate to everybody.
Okay.
first
yeah, yeah.
Great.
Before you decide
Perfect.
to approve.
Okay.
Okay,
Leslie,
thank you,
all
Joe,
set?
and thank you, Joe, for that.
Oh, yeah.
All set?
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
thank you, Bob, I
Okay.
can wait for the rest of
Yeah.
my report.
Take care.
Okay, Lois.
I'll go through the other ones here.
Yeah.
The bank reconciliations are completed through July. Being that the meeting is a little early this month, I have not started on August. The monthly revenue from the government report has been received from Betsy Sheepline through June and from Jeff Beasley through July. The building commission report has been received for August as well as the town clerk's office I renewed our SAMS.gov registration, which is the government system for award management.
Oh, good.
It was a little tricky. I had to make 2 attempts, but one attempt was, and Jeff knows this, that I was looking for a document that said the town of Washington started in 1788. And
Was it down the basement
I could not find one.
with the squirrel?
Yes, maybe he chewed it up.
Yeah,
But, so what I did was, our AFR has those footnotes, and the accountant had town of Washington, started in 17, so I think the government was happy with that.
Okay.
I just didn't know what else I could possibly do.
Yep.
I called Jeff to see if he had anything on file, but managed to get through it. There are some budget amendments, and I will have more next month, but we did the court audits, 2 years worth, and so we had budgeted for last year. So I'm using the fund balance to cover, which would have been left over from last year, that expense.
that's the 3,000.
To cover that audit. So we are now caught up to 2019, or 21, actually. The next one is the, Joe received the financial aid from FEMA for the disaster relief for the
Yeah.
storm of Ida. So I'm increasing the revenue line and increasing the expense line.
That's the 41.7.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then the rec swimming revenue, and rec swimming salary. This was never in, the rec budget, but, they did do a swimming program and, brought in, a little bit more money than the expenses, were. And then the last one is the park and pool CE line. It stands about 11,000 over budget, this year. There were quite a few big expenses. The chlorine itself was almost 10 grand. The bathrooms, we had to do the bathrooms.
That was that emergency we had.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so 4,000
With the forced
and
walls.
change.
Yep.
Raised septic, I have
Yep.
reinstallation of the new fabric and wood chips and, the mulch.
Right.
So there were kind of a few larger expenses this year. So
Yeah,
I'm
hopefully
taking-
we'll get that chlorine under control next year.
And
Is
also,
that-
some of these line items need to be looked at every year.
Yeah, I
and
think we have
projected
to-
forward.
Yeah.
Is the
yeah.
chlorine expense because chlorine went up in price?
Yeah.
Like
Part of it.
everybody, my
Part of
brother
it.
said, how it
Yeah.
skyrocketed. Yeah.
Also, it was, the pumps weren't working properly. We got those all
Right,
regulated
right.
and it started using it proper amount
Oh,
rather than under. We were
oh,
getting under readings on our pool.
So
So I was using the
taking-
guesstimate method.
So I'm just taking leftover line items and putting up into the park and pool facility line to cover the unexpected expenses. The park and pool salary lines came out, a little hair under, even though we had given some
Bonuses.
Bonuses,
Right.
so.
And in the budget
Lifeguard.
process this year, we're looking at those adjustments to those base salaries for each of those
Right.
lines.
Yeah. I started the budget process. As we'll talk about when our meetings will begin with Mary. I should be hearing back from the department heads. I gave them till next Wednesday, the 15th. And then I have to get the tentative budget to Mary by the end of September. I gave you a little chart here again of the
Right,
timeline.
on the front.
Yeah,
Looks like October 30th is the key date. Or, excuse me,
So-
October 5th, not 30th,
Right.
October 5th.
So we're in pretty good shape. We've gotten estimates for health insurance and workers' comp already, and the retirement invoice, so I already started entering all those figures in and seeing what fund goes how much. And then lastly, I've been looking at a new software program that's called Enhanced.
Right,
And
we
it's more
saw
of
that
a
in here, yeah.
Windows-based program. It is so much, I want to say cheaper, but not such less expensive for the town after the initial expense of setting it up. It's $1,100. I'm sure it'll go up every year, but that was the quote I was given.
Yeah, we have it.
Annually instead of $6,800. I inquired about KBS's and Springbrook, are the same company. Springbrook is a Windows-based software program also, but it was going to cost about $11,000 a year.
Oh my gosh.
And $29,000 to convert our data into that software. So they were looking at $40,000. The only thing about Enhanced is I can't bring the KBS data into Enhanced.
You gotta do it manually.
I think what Karen did up at the Village of Rhinebeck and now the Village of Millbrook uses it as well. I think the media uses it.
Yeah.
They just did a cutoff date.
Mhm.
My problem is the KBS data isn't on my computer anymore. It is up in their cloud-based on their servers. That makes me a little nervous about
Well, you can make
not
an
having
arrangement.
something.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, we
if they
can,
would
there'd probably be a small fee, but we could
Right.
probably,
bring it back down or whatever.
or we could have access to
And
it.
here's
Yeah.
another thing.
Usually they give you access.
We went through a similar thing. I went through it
I did
twice
too,
with two different
yeah.
healthcare organizations. And if you've been on Facebook, you see that Central Hudson went through a similar thing. We can run parallel programming. It's a little bit extra work, but you can run the enhanced and run your existing run
Mhm.
and keep them running for a period of time until you're comfortable with an enhanced.
Right,
Then you shut this one down. This one continues to run.
right,
What some places do, they make the mistake of a cutoff date,
right,
then they run this.
right,
This thing doesn't work out, then they try to go back and
Right.
reactivate this,
and I can't.
but they lost all the data that was in this new program. So think about running a parallel for a period of time, and then shut this one down, continue your new one.
Because I was worried about, well, how am I gonna do year-end W-2,
Exactly,
1099s, all
exactly.
that, if they're
I'm
just gonna
sure
say,
KBS,
Right.
because when I switched like from Reynolds to a different system, and
mhm,
we were, everything was in the cloud, and I
Mhm.
was able to, for a very small fee, have access to
just
all of
have
that
access
for,
to it at
yeah,
least,
for a-
and-
and you can name your
You can
period
run all
of
your
time.
W-2s and stuff off the old one,
Right.
even though
right,
you're using the new
New
one,
one.
and then shut the old one down. On Facebook, you hear all the complaints about Central Hudson's bills.
Oh, yeah.
What they did is they shut everything down, they activated the new one,
Oh,
and the
everything.
thing went crazy.
Yeah.
And they had no way of going back into the old one. Have we checked with our accounting firm to see if they've got experience with this
They
software
do,
system?
I know Denise does, because Denise works up with Karen.
Great.
Have you seen the system?
Yeah, I
Up
worked,
there?
I did a demo several months ago. And I went up last Wednesday and watched Karen do her payroll. It's still a little tricky. It's not anything like another software program where you can just go void a check and save some, it's not as easy as QuickBooks if you were doing it, but the account numbers are different. The reports look a little different. I don't know if you're comfortable with looking
So
at
why you just want to improve? Like what's
Yeah, I
why?
think KBS is very antiquated. We're
Antiquated.
using, I think it's a 1980 software program.
Okay.
Uh,
It's a very, very old software
Okay.
program.
Yeah, I'm sure.
I don't mind using it. I'm good with it. It's fine. I'm used to it. This is
But
just how it works.
The new
you know.
program would be maybe more efficient?
I would believe so, more user-friendly.
Okay.
And you said it's also their annual fee is less than the KB?
$8,000
Yeah,
Yeah,
Much
And
less.
I even cut when I first came
$5,700.
here.
yeah, that's significant, yeah.
When I first came here, we were paying for like a fixed access module and a different other module. Like, we're not even using these modules. So I think I got it down a couple grand, and now they just boosted it right back up to where it used to be 2 years ago.
Yeah.
so to switch it,
So-
it's like $7,400.
Yeah,
And then-
I attached the
Right.
quote for you,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
When would you like to do this, date-wise, timeline-wise?
late January.
Yeah, after budget and stuff.
And,
After budget's done, or?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'd have to plug in the numbers and whatever. I'm not sure if that's part of their setup
So
too.
calendar
or-
year, which is our fiscal
To
year,
fiscal year,
would be the new system.
yeah,
But I would still think about running both.
right.
Well, why don't you find out about KBW to see if they'll let us, and what, I'm sure it's not gonna be $6,800
Right.
to just have access to our stuff, and
And
get
then,
back to Mary, have Mary get back to us, and then put it in the budget.
we could use the, ARPA money for this, we've
Yeah.
allocated.
Oh,
That'd be
That's
great.
even better.
1,000, so if we're gonna do it, this is a good time to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
well,
that's great.
The only thing I kind of even have is like looking back on vendor history, and we'd have to print out a lot of reports,
Yeah,
Mhm.
and that kind of thing. But we have the physical vouchers.
yeah, it might
But
be
it
worth
wouldn't be
it.
as easy for me to, at some time, just be able to go into KBS and say, hey, did you pay this invoice?
Is this a fairly new company?
I'm not sure about that.
You mentioned two other communities.
Well, you make your
use it.
money back in the yearly fee in a year and a quarter.
Actually, Karen said, I know Catskill uses it, there's quite a
Good.
few towns
Good.
using this. software,
including the Village of Millbrook,
including
right?
Village of Millbrook.
And Millerton, and Amenia.
And Amenia, I know, Amenia.
Okay.
So.
Well,
We've got resources to help.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, Karen said, whenever, and.
Now, can I make a comment?
Mhm.
Yeah, with the cloud-based one that you're in right now, maybe they'll let you somehow download that data too, so you can
Download it
keep it
back.
locally.
Yeah,
Because you're not
That's what I'm
changing it anymore,
right.
so you don't really need that access.
Well,
to
I
their
just
server.
have to be able to get those W-2s.
Right, so I think they should let you just take a snapshot of everything
Right,
when you're done,
right,
and you're ready to turn that system on,
Right.
paralleling it.
I bet you they just let you have access to whatever
but
you
like I
want.
said, like the account numbers are different, like just say for instance, Joe's general repairs line, it would be DB, now it's 5110. Well, now it starts, and Joe is gonna be the tough one here.
Yeah,
It's gonna be like 5110, and then 03 is like your highway department.
Yeah.
So your A and your
he'll get used to
B
it.
and DB number does not start the account.
So this will give me an extra opportunity too to take a look at current line items that may be cumulative dollars and maybe need to be separated out, so we're a little bit more specific on line
You
items.
could do that. Mhm.
Because sometimes we
They're
bundle,
very
we bundle, yeah,
generalized, yeah,
general, and you're really not getting a good look at why were we over, why were we under?
right, exactly.
Okay, Good.
So,
So we don't have to make a motion now. I mean, we'd have to know.
is this something you have to, make a motion on? I don't know.
Well, if it's in your budget and you're paying, I don't think so, right?
No, again, I think we would use the ARPA money.
Right.
wouldn't hurt to make a motion,
Right.
just as
other.
as Jeff said, just to cover,
Yeah.
you don't have to go back in another
Yeah.
meeting and do it, so I'll make the
Yeah.
motion.
Okay. That
To
we
pursue this new
enhance,
whatever it's called,
Software.
Yeah,
software
software.
program for bookkeeping.
I'll second it. All in favor?
That's giving her
Aye.
permission to go ahead and do it.
Right.
Yes.
Aye, we're all in
Is that okay,
favor.
Jeff?
Yes, no, I think that's good.
Mhm.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. And we need to make a motion to do the budget transfers
Yes,
as presented.
yes.
You might want to make the motion.
I'll make a motion to adjust the budget transfers as presented.
Second?
Second?
Okay, Lois, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, thank you, Lois. Thanks for everything. Anything else?
That's it.
Okay. Happy budget time.
Thanks, Lois. I know, I'm looking at this, my heart's racing. I'm like, oh my
Yeah.
gosh, how do you keep
Because
track of
Mary
all
had sent
this?
out dates, right, the second, third, or fourth?
Yes,
that we-
yes,
I told her right.
I said any of them's okay with me.
yes. Mondays are good. I mean, yeah.
Please fly by, keep you busy.
Okay, Mary, do you want to give us your report?
Yes. Why don't we talk about the budget hearing, the October meeting, for when you want to receive the budget? What dates are good for everybody, the 3rd, 4th, or 5th?
Oh, it was third, fourth.
Yeah, I'll be away till the 7th, but if everybody else can make it, you won't need me.
Any of those dates are fine.
Any of those dates are fine for me, Mary.
Leslie?
Okay,
I
Mike
think
and
they are
Leslie?
too. That Monday was good for me, whatever that Monday is, but let me just, I'm pulling up my calendar.
October 3rd,
Okay.
right?
You would just
think,
have to check with Gary, Mary.
Any of those dates are good for me, Mayor.
So Mike
Okay.
and Joe are good. I'll be away till the 7th.
I know that
Okay,
Monday is
so-
good, Mary, because I checked it when you sent the Monday dates. I just didn't, I haven't, the internet's not going, so I can check my Google Calendar. But Monday, the 3rd, I know works
Okay,
There you
me.
go.
so I'm going to tentatively schedule the the delivery of the budget to the board for October 3rd.
Okay.
Do you want to do 6 p.m. or do you want to do another time?
That works for me. Is it works for
6
everybody?
is fine for me.
It's okay
Yeah.
with me too.
Earlier even is
Yeah.
fine.
Me too.
Want to do 5:30?
Sure.
Okay.
Let's go 5:30. 'Cause
I'm
that's
sure
usually-
Gary would like early too.
That's
so-
not usually a big time meeting.
No,
That's kind of a quick in, quick out.
yeah.
So we just need a motion and a second on that.
Okay, motion to do the budget presentation on Monday, the 3rd
Of October
of October.
at 5:30.
Okay, so I'll make that motion.
Okay, Joe makes the motion second.
Second?
Leslie second. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Unanimous.
Great, and then do we want to schedule budget meetings on Monday, like we've done previously?
Yeah, and Tuesday, the 1st after the 31st Halloween. If we go that long, we probably will.
Monday starting when, Mayor?
The week after Columbus Day. So I think that's around, I don't even have a calendar in front of me, so whatever the Monday
I can-
after
wait.
Columbus
Columbus
Day
Day
is.
is the 10th, is that?
Well, here, I can.
There used to be a calendar.
Yes, that
I have one there.
is the, hold on a second. I'm putting this one in.
Here, Mike. Okay.
The Monday after, sorry, it's the 17th is that Monday.
Yeah. So we do the
17th,
17th, the 24th, and November 1st for budget meetings.
Would be a
Okay.
Tuesday would be the 1st.
Yes,
Because
Tuesday the
Thursday
1st.
1st is Halloween.
And if we can't make one
I'm
of
good at
those,
all
like I
those.
know my daughter has a long weekend that weekend, so I don't think I'm going to be here. I think I might be at her school for Parents Weekend. So anyway, I'll just let you know, Mary, if I can't make one of them, but I will.
Yeah, it's usually just beating up line items. That's basically
Okay.
what it is.
Okay,
And do we
Mary?
want to do those at 5:30 or
Sure.
6 o'clock?
5:30.
5:30 is good.
Okay.
And you'll send out a reminder on all these, Mayor?
Yes, I will.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And then I think I told you that our monthly reports are late. We're waiting our bank recs.
Right.
So you'll get all the monthly reports in the next few days from my office and Kristen and anyone who handles money. That would be Louis as well. And the minutes have been sent to you. And I don't have, the other thing I wanted to talk about was PACE. And I'll be getting in touch with Leslie so we can coordinate how we're going to move forward with instituting the recommendations that they've made to us. Does that work for you, Leslie?
Yes, Mary and I emailed about, so you all received the report from Tiffany that Mary circulated. So
Yeah.
in that, she makes recommendations about things we can describe more clearly on the websites and processes based on those workshops. So we'll either, Mary's going to start to work on, I think she already has begun to work on kind of descriptions and things, and then the things that require more collaboration with some of the planning and zoning committees, we'll get that group together once we kind of identify what the next steps are for them, which is great because Tiffany's sort of done a lot of that work for us.
And I believe it'll take us about a year to complete all of the recommendations. Some of them will be quick, some of them will be several months. So I would love for it to be sooner, but I don't want to be that optimistic.
Yeah.
I'm sure we can do it, but let's say it'll take us approximately a year to institute everything. If it's sooner, good for us.
Okay.
Okay, anything else, Mayor, about the general code or?
Nope, nothing that you have to vote on.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, thank you, Mary. Hope your mom is
You're
better.
welcome. Thanks. If you don't mind, I have to leave in a couple of minutes because the doctors are going to be doing rounds in a few minutes.
Okay.
So
Okay.
I'll listen, and whatever I don't stay on for, I'll get from the recording tomorrow.
Okay.
Okay.
Thanks, Mary.
Thanks, Mary.
All right.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And then if you need to call me for any reason, if something comes up and you have a question, just give me a call.
Okay.
All
All
right,
right. So I'm going to stay on for a few minutes, and then I'm going to head out or head upstairs.
okay. Lisa, do you have something for us other than? No, okay. I was just wondering if you were here for a specific thing. And you're welcome to stay, of course.
Oh, I do have one more thing. I'm sorry. With the fire company, we probably want to do a municipal agreement.
Yep,
That way, if there's any remediation that needs to be done, or that the site, that they're responsible for the site, that they're giving us insurance, all those types of things.
well, I'll be
So
working,
Tim can work on something like that.
right, I'll work with Ted on exactly what they are prepared to pay for.
You pass it on.
Okay.
And I'll pass it on to Jeff, and then Jeff can tell us what we should do from there.
Perfect.
Okay?
Yep.
All right.
Very good. Thank you.
I'll try to actually do that tomorrow with Ted. I was hoping he'd be here tonight, but he told me he might or might not be.
Yeah, he texted me that he got held up at a meeting, and
But overall, I think it's a great windfall for us, really. We're helping them out, they're helping us out, so it looks like a good deal.
yes.
Okay, so it's my turn. So I was hoping that we could come to an agreement tonight on the charging station spots. It's the only cost to us, and they said that the village said they would share it with us, is the preparation of the 4 parking slots on the side drive. And you saw this last month, right? I gave you a copy. Oh, you weren't
I wasn't
here.
here.
Okay, so I'll explain it to
Mhm.
you. Here's the entrance to that parking lot.
Mhm.
There's this side,
Yeah.
there's 2 trees.
Yeah.
Roughly, we need about 36 feet to have total of 4 vehicles, 2 charging stations.
Yeah.
Okay? That gives you 12 feet on each side between the parking spaces and the trees. It's got good, more space here than here to, push any snow out of the
Yeah.
way. I
mean,
don't think
that's
it's going to be a big deal. It's
It's
like
more
it's like
agreeable.
one swap with our small truck when they do the
Yeah.
plowing there.
Yeah.
To plow it, the village doesn't want to have them in the front of the building. We could have a sign out front, showing. The spots will not be dedicated just for EV charging. So the nights that we have meeting, anyone can park here.
Mhm.
If there's no cars being
Yeah.
charged. It won't be exclusive. It doesn't have to be exclusive for Livingston. They're going
Yeah.
to pay for everything, the electricity, the hookup, the whole 9 yards. They will not come until we do a resolution and do a site visit, but they said they don't care where the power's coming from. It could be the opposite end of the building, they'll get it to the spot that we
Okay.
want it
That's
to.
All right.
And it's a 5-year, as you know, it's a 5-year. At the end of 5 years, they'll ask us if we want to take it over, they want to continue it. Might be some newfangled things
Yeah.
going in then, so we have the choice of having it removed, or we have 4 more parking spaces that I don't think are going to look bad over here.
So, to charge, how long will it take for a full charge, do you say?
It's a stage 2 charger, so I think a completely dead electric car could probably take up to a couple hours.
Couple hours?
Yeah.
That's not bad.
So basically, it's, I asked Vicki if she would go to the Business Association to see if they wanted, because it's to their benefit.
Yeah,
For us to have the charging stations for the village. And I asked her if she would be willing to go there if we approve getting a hold of Livingston and have them come do the site visit, and they say, fine, we'll do it, blah, blah, blah. They provide all the insurance,
Great.
for the whole thing, Livingston. If the Business Association would like to kick in some money, maybe to landscape around it, pay for some extra signage that they might put around the village.
Yeah.
And I think as a whole, the Business Association would be glad to do it, because they're the ones pushing the village to find a place to put these.
Okay.
and
Yeah.
we know roughly, it probably can't be that much to create the spots. So I think you were thinking of gravel, right? You would just push the,
I think at first, we could do that. The village said they would help us with it.
great.
So we would get Joe and Bob
Yeah.
together, and we'll
Well,
spec
we
it
have
out.
we have a bunch of millings, right? So that would be
Yeah,
perfect
perfect.
for that.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's
So you-
more agreeable backing up into here than backing out onto a street.
Yes. Yeah. So,
You-
Wrong
Jeff,
with
do you
that?
have comments? I know you had some comments earlier, and I thought I sent you an email answering those questions you had about insurance, a site plan for it.
So you've got a map there, in other words, that would be the site plan. And where did you get that? I don't recall.
I made it.
Yeah, okay. I mean, we should have an official map, an official resolution at some point to bring all these details. There'll be an agreement with Livingston eventually. I mean, it's
Right, they
on
sent-
page
they-
20.
They sent us the agreement. I passed it on to you.
Right, that was a page long. That needs some work.
Okay,
That needs to be negotiated, and things need to be clarified there.
okay,
So it sounds like conceptually you want to proceed.
okay. All right, so we'll
Okay.
have to do some work on the agreement, that's all.
Now, when you say site plan, you need a surveyor to go in there and do that?
I don't know.
Okay.
That's, we
Okay.
make a lot of businesses do that, but for municipal property, it's not necessary.
I went out there with a tape measure and measured it all out. Surveyor Bob. Well, you'll find out and you'll let me know.
Yes. yep.
Okay. And you'll send me the recommendations on their contract that
I
they
will,
want us to
yes.
sign?
Yes.
Okay. And I'll pass it on to the gentleman I have his contact. Or I could give you the contact, you could pass them directly to him if you want.
I think you did give me that contact.
And if you don't have it, I'll resend it to
Okay.
you. Okay. He's a pretty nice guy, actually.
Yeah.
And I did call, I think 4 municipalities that use Livingston, and they were all, a couple of them had it done for free, so they don't make any income off of it. 2 municipalities up near Albany paid the fee to have it done, the partial fee.
Mhm.
Central Hudson hooked it up or not Central Hudson up there, it's, anyway, whatever. it is.
Niagara Mall.
No, it's something else.
It's not 911.
National
No.
Grid.
National Grid. National Grid did pay, 100%. Central Hudson does pay 100% to do the hookup, but they have to put everything else in. They have to run wire from the pole. I don't know, but Central Hudson will put the meter in. They pay the meter gets billed to Livingston 100%. So a couple of municipalities put a lot of them in, and they thought they would get a lot of use out of them, and therefore they thought they'd get a lot of revenue at some point. I talked to a lot of people that own electric cars, and they said they very seldom plug in, even if they drive to, Westchester Mall and they're half charged. They don't usually look for a special spot to plug in their car, and they have to pay because they have chargers at home.
Oh, yeah.
So I don't think they'll get a lot of use, but, people visiting the area, at least they'll know they're there because they'll be on their grid in their car. So it'll say, Reservoir Drive, 4 spots, Town of Washington. Okay. This is another discussion we need to do. I called several plumbing companies trying to get somebody to do service plumbing for us, and nobody wants to do municipal work. Jeff and I spoke about it today, about that and other municipal items. Jeff said I will send him the people I've talked to that won't do municipal work, and give the reasons why they don't do municipal work. One's paperwork, one is they don't need the hassle of doing, the wage.
Is it prevailing wage that they're worried about?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's,
And Jeff would pass that on to the Association of Towns to see what their answer is for that. And I believe the answer will probably be that if you're bidding some work, you got to get at least 2 bids. But for service work, I mean, how do you describe the town park plumbing, draining for service work?
for service work, what you need to do is, if you had, say, 3 companies, the lowest hourly rate you could hire without going out to bid.
I don't believe
That's very true.
Oh,
It's very true.
if,
You call up the rates, below such and such an hour, 18, such and such, 20, 25, you go with the 18. There's your bid.
but that
Lowest
doesn't
hourly
follow,
rate.
that doesn't follow the rules. The rules say you have to pay prevailing wage.
If-
Over a certain amount.
And
Yes,
also,
yeah,
right,
there's a
exactly.
there's a small limit.
Right.
Yeah.
But then also, and you do, like, the owner of the company, right? If he's doing the work,
But he
Then-
can't have any
right,
employees.
right, yeah.
So I found one that would be willing to
Mhm.
do it, and he's a single proprietor, but he doesn't do any emergency calls.
Mhm.
So if we spring a leak in the town hall on a Saturday and we're flooding the basement, we can't call him, he won't come.
Mhm.
And I can't find anybody else.
So,
And I
Have
mean,
you-
I've tried, and I've asked multiple people, and a lot of people gave me recommendations.
But you did find a company that wants to do it,
Oh, yes,
but they don't want
deal with the
to deal with
prevailing.
the prevailing.
Yeah,
wage.
we found several companies don't do it, but not prevailing wage. And the same with, I called a propane company, for instance, to install tanks. They said municipality,
What-
local big company.
what's the cap on that? Like, what job, like, say they come over here and they do, the job is worth
I
like
think it's,
$2,000? I mean,
It's like $2,300 or something, if I recall. I don't recall. No.
you know, I mean, how many times is that going to happen? You know what I mean?
In today's world,
And-
that's
These
a
buil-
lot.
These buildings and these sites
Right?
could be any time.
Yeah.
But we do need a company that's willing to do, like the rec area, that all has to be drained each year, is
Mhm.
that set up each year?
Yeah.
Mhm.
This building,
Okay.
the shed, I mean,
So-
the highway department.
Right.
Mhm.
So what I'll do is I'll work with Jeff. I'll get all those names, email addresses and everything and get them to Jeff. Jeff will send them to the Association of Towns, and we'll get an answer.
Uh-huh.
And then we'll go from there. In the pouring rain, I got a phone call from the assessor's department, a leak in the ceiling upstairs. I went up and investigated. You know what that ladder is like in the closet is like 23 feet up, but I did get the cover off and a flashlight in there. Yeah, I saw a little wet spot on the beam, but you got to get on the roof to find out what's going on. I asked Mary if she knew how old the roof was, and she says the roof has not been done since she's been here, 29 years or whatever it's been.
Oh my gosh.
So the roof has probably seen its better days. So
Wow.
I thought I'd call a roofing company I know just to see if they would do an assessment for us, and if there'd be a charge for it. And I don't think this guy will charge us. He has guys that work for him that'll, I told him, I said, it's pretty high up. I mean, I told him it's a high roof, and he goes, no problem. He goes, we'll go up and take a look. So, but he didn't agree to it. I didn't tell him exactly where or when until we talked about it here. It's not a big leak, it's a small leak. We had a similar leak up close to that spot almost 2 years ago.
You may have a beam that's failing.
And we could not find the place it was coming in.
Yeah.
So we monitored it every time it rained, and we had torrential rains after that, and it never leaked again in that spot. And that's in that bathroom upstairs on the wall. And it's, we touched up some paint there, and it's the same. way it's always
Water's a
been.
problem, because it
it-
showed here,
yes.
but it's actually
Right,
leaking there.
exactly. But we'll do a roof assessment as it is. And
It's
it's
all
not a
good.
serious
Yeah.
leak, so if we get a big torrential rain, they know where to put the bucket up there.
Yeah.
So. But I wanted everybody to be aware of that. I asked Joe, I was a little worried about the wiring in the basement because of the squirrel, and the red squirrel got in there and chewed holes in the in the ceiling down there, and we have tons of wires. The only wire I could see that had some chew was just an extension cord that runs out for Christmas tree lights, which we can repair with no problem. But Joe said he'd help me with one of his guys, and we'll go check it out. I just don't want to let it go too long
Right.
and find out we have a problem. Joe said usually the squirrels don't bother electric wires. They
They're like
they
plastic.
sniff around them, and they know there's power in them for some reason. I don't know. And they don't want to bit into them. And the last item is a few people had looked at our ramp, and the recommendation is that it would be ridiculous to repair it. We need to replace it. It's a custom railing that we have made. Everybody, including all of the staff here that work here, says everybody uses that ramp. So we're going to need to go out to bid for a new ramp. And it will be a all-weather material ramp with stainless steel connectors. I had one guy look at it and gave me just a ballpark number of around $20,000 to $25,000 to do it really well with, that'll last. Like with the Trex type of material.
Yeah.
I guess there is a new Trex material now that has traction on it, so you don't have to put those
The
plates
strips.
on, those strips. And our biggest problem was we salt that all the time, and all the screws, fasteners, nails were all just
Corroded.
they just corroded and fell apart when the salt had warped a lot of the boards underneath. A lot of it's salvageable, but not usable.
Right.
Not usable for what we want to do it for. So we'll do that. Hopefully I'll get a bid out for that. I'll have Mary do that sooner than later, because if we do it, I'd like to get it done before winter. Maybe.
Yeah, that'd be
If we
great.
can get somebody to do it. The material supposedly is available for that stuff. And that's my report. I have a lot to do. Michael?
Just a report on recreation. Everything has gone very, very smoothly. I do have to give accolades to the rec board. They've all stepped up in very high levels. particularly Jason Smadowski, who took
I saw him
over
up there.
the soccer program.
Yeah.
And he really has been steering that, along with several other individuals who have taken on little pieces of the soccer program. Heather uniforms, Dawn referees,
The uniforms are here, by the way.
they already are gone.
Oh, gone.
So accolades to them. Starting day is this Saturday, September 10th. They've been doing an extra recruiting of young potential soccer players, kindergarten age. They put out extra pamphlets and extra recruiting. They've got that number up a little bit. The number is still not where it's been over the last several years. The reasoning, they believe, is some people are doing travel now. Some of the recreation athletes we had here, skill-wise, have gone up a level. They're now into more competitive type programs. But the board itself is pleased. It was a hustle under emergency situation, but it's done. The fields are all ready. The food dispensing on game days is all ready. Referees are ready. The nets are out. By the way, the nets were put in place through Jason and Brian Kelly, who work at the golf club. They brought up 20 guys. They just picked the nets up. They moved them, put them on the field, took them 10 minutes. It was great. And also Ted, who's been helping on our grounds, he's been excellent with trimming. We've got the playground areas up there looking really nice so that the public coming up to view the soccer will also see a nice facility. So we're all set, and we already took care of the new director, so.
And when is the next rec meeting? Has Danielle will meet all the.
Danielle has already met
Well, I
with
guess
them.
the interview.
They interviewed with them. We went through all the processes that have been in the past. But as I said, change is good because it opens up new opportunities. You can change meeting
Will
dates,
somebody
you
be
can change
working with
protocols.
Danielle for budget?
What's that?
Will somebody be working with budget?
Mary and I started talking budget. We started looking at line items. When we did our crash review during the emergency transition, Mary took copious notes on what's needed, both on site up there. The board has already started to give input. Danielle knows what their vision is. Some of that will take a while to come to fruition.
Sure.
But right now, we're probably looking at line items where we will do a look back of maybe 2 or 3 years, take an average, multiply by a certain percentage and get it up to that. And then that will give Danielle a whole year of looking at what needs to be done. But we've already made recommendations on salaries for camp, salaries on waterfront, salaries on first aid people. We've already,
Is Mary part of that conversation too?
yeah,
On
that's,
this- Okay, awesome, because she was mentioned, I remember when we were talking about the lifeguard, she just mentioned to me
Yep.
that some of these kids were
Yep.
getting better offers at other towns.
yeah,
as
and we've already talked, we also
online.
gave a bonus program, we did a bonus program for them this year. We already talked about, and at the meeting that Danielle was interviewed at, we talked about moving earlier with certifications so that we can get it done when the kids are home on vacation. When the high school kids are local, we can get Red Cross, first aid, all of that done quickly to maintain them. I personally spoke to every lifeguard and every camp level supervisor and encouraged them to come back, and many of them said they were willing to come back.
That's great.
Yeah, so I think we've got a good nucleus to start from. But as I said to Danielle after she accepted, it's her program.
Should she have
No
a
pressure,
copy?
Danielle.
Make it fly.
Did she have like a copy of last year's budget maybe?
She will have a copy of
Yeah.
last year's budget, this year's budget. Danielle's coming in on the 21st. Mary's going to meet with her. There's some
Yeah.
protocols that need to be followed. But I'm going to meet with her. We're going to do walkarounds. And then the office upstairs. That's a task in itself, just getting that back down to where it needs to be. Everybody's really excited. Great opportunities. Good discussions. The board has some now good vision. And you and I need to get those professionals up there to do a walk around on the plant. And
I
then
was just gonna ask if you
People
had
go.
a time for that, like the walk around.
the walk around is going to be probably, now that the water is down, as soon as Bob's back, we'll take people up there, we'll do a walk around.
Do early up.
And then we'll start talking about long-range plan. And Danielle is aware that we're looking at maybe a 5-year long-range plan, which will involve fundraising, will involve vision from the input from the community. We talked about pickleball courts, we talked about lighting, we talked about keeping the park open longer, with the gate accessibility longer. Talked about the Little League field already, what uses that could be. The grounds, the upper grounds, there's maintenance that still has to be maintained up there, like topping off that pathway around that's never been sealed since it originally went in.
Still in good shape though.
When I was on the board originally, that's when we put it in when Fussy was. So it's all that kind of stuff, but yes, that will all be detailed. It's almost a capital campaign on a small level for recreation facilities. And also some ideas on how to get funds into a recreation line from the community instead of always depending on fees and so on. Some communities, as an example, over in Massachusetts, some communities, if you get a building permit to build a house anywhere in the community, there's a tag on that building permit of a certain percentage of dollars that goes into a restricted recreation fund for the town.
Oh, that's nice.
And that way,
In San Diego.
everybody
Yeah.
is putting
Yeah.
money in, not just the people that have kids in the program.
San Diego, the gas
Same thing.
tax, believe it or not, my son says it's $7, $8 a gallon. They don't complain. Each community, each taxpayer
Yep.
gets in their tax bills,
Mhm.
they get how much gas tax is gone to their community
Mhm.
out of the gas tax. The state gas tax
Yeah.
is distributed for open space and items like Mike was talking about. And they don't complain a lot about
That's great.
that money because they see where it goes. We don't see.
I emailed Deirdre days today, Thursday, I guess
Yeah.
earlier in the week, to ask her if she and I can connect about what upcoming grants the county is going to be
Like that
offering.
annual one that came out this year.
Yeah, because,
Recreation.
and she
Yeah.
said there will be things for sure, and she talked about the village got the
Yeah.
I think $100,000 for trees, the
Yeah.
fire department just got this.
Sidewalks or something.
And the money here that they're gonna apply, the $200,000, so.
Yeah.
I mean, to me, that would be a great, I
Some
don't know
good
what,
stuff.
I don't know what they had $14 million, I think she said allocated, so,
Yeah,
What about
it's a lot
Rotary?
of-
Do you guys get money from Rotary or anything?
no.
Well, Rotary, it was more than willing to give us some trees over by the playground at
Oh,
night.
right, I remember that.
So you might be able to work with them. They're a lot of money from their fundraiser, and you might be able to get some.
Yeah, the walk around, input from the board, input from Danielle now that she's on board, will give us an idea of what the shopping list would be.
Yeah.
We can attach dollars to it. That will help us with grant applications, because then we'll know, like Stanfordville, they're shooting for $1 million because they have that amount of expenses needed on the recreation facilities. And Amenia, I don't know what theirs is, but they're doing one. So that's it.
Well, I got one more thing to say, and it's a kudos to Mike
Yeah,
Murphy
for sure.
and the work he's done at the town park. I went up one day and Mike was
Interesting.
in the kitchen in there, and he had black bags full of stuff when the power went out. Any of the leftover food that went bad, he was hauling it to the dumpster and filling the dump truck up take it to the dump. And later on that day, I came up and I went in there, and he had scrubbed all the refrigerators. He did some job, let me
It's
tell you.
amazing.
I'm glad I was on the board in
Yeah.
order to be able to do that, because I
Right.
had the experience. And
Right.
quite frankly, people were very comfortable with me being up there. It wasn't like some strangers in there telling us what to do.
Right.
So it
And
worked out very, very well.
Do you want me to find out from a couple of companies what it would cost to sanitize that? Clean the thing and stuff?
Mary was thinking Surf Pro, but yeah, we can talk to her about that.
Yeah. And let's get some numbers
Yeah.
and try to get that done before the
Oh, yeah.
raccoons get in there
Yeah.
this
I had
this winter.
bumped into someone the other day whose kids are in the rec, and said, "Oh, the pool closed early," and I explained why. He said, "Well, the good news is, they found like every watch, everything that has been get lost? I said, I didn't even think about the lost and found that must be just walking around. I guess the last day they went, I don't know, a bunch
We
of
have wedding
families
bells,
went.
we
and-
have
just-
wedding rings.
I'll give you one quick story.
Wow.
When I was a kid, my next door neighbor in Mabbittsville took care of the town park. He was the groundskeeper for the park, Mr. Sorensen, and his daughter still lives in Mabbittsville. And Mr. Sorensen, we had an old concession stand at the time, and it was a big platform with a roof on it and a concession stand. But the platform the slats had big holes in it like this, so everybody, they dropped change down there, all kinds of stuff in there. So we couldn't wait till they closed the pool, us local boys, because Mr. Sorensen would let us
Go
climb
under.
underneath, and we'd get rich,
Yeah.
We probably found $5 each,
Yeah.
but we thought we
Well,
were.
that's a lot.
No, yeah,
Oh my
a bag of
gosh.
potato chips was a
Yeah.
nickel, so we did.
That's
pretty
how
good.
we used
We
to.
did, but he
we
used to
do that.
find, he used to have a list of lost and found.
Mhm.
When we drained the pool, he'd go around with a magnet and all these other things, and he'd find wedding rings and bracelets and, necklaces and all kinds of stuff. And he'd make sure that they got them. And Mike says they found a nice watch or something. They tried to find out.
Found a couple wedding rings.
Wow.
And we left them there, but no one has called.
Yeah,
One's got an inscription in it, but we can't identify who the person is.
yeah.
Isn't that something? Wow.
So,
Okay, Joe.
For my report, it's going to be very brief because there's no sense of rehashing the September meeting. We were all there. There's nobody on Zoom. So,
Great presentation.
so
Great presentation.
we know what happened there. The only thing is, NAN, there's provisions for phase 2 and NAN's agreement. So if we're all in agreement to have a NAN continue with having us and helping us adopt the recommendations for the existing comprehensive plan, maybe that could be discussed. Is anybody against having?
It's already in the original contract that phase 2 was already
Yeah.
employed, and the cost of that was already in the initial agreement that we made with
Right.
her.
We still have some.
So it's
money.
not like hiring her again. She's already, quote, hired. So I have no problem with us continuing to take in-depth look at and answering some of the questions that were brought up at the public meeting, such as what phases do you do this in? How long it's going to take? What do you want to do first? What do you want to do second? Then if there's a third phase, then that's when we would have to probably go out to bid again or negotiate for another contract with her.
I don't know, did she get back?
I didn't see
So
a reply.
Nan gave
I
a proposal to me and to Mary for the grant application. And so I emailed Mary to say, to ask about, we're talking about the timing of it, because with the CFA grants, I just double checked when the money comes in, because as I was leaving on Thursday night, Nan said, have you all made a decision about sort of next phases, because she's got so much work going on? I said, no. I said, and I also, she said, well, I think they had money left over. They did have money left over from the work they've done. And she said that would be less than what I quoted to you and Mary in the proposal, because she had prepared for the meeting and had the meeting, so whatever that is. And so that proposal, which you've all seen, has like what the next steps are, and 4 months, whatever her. So I just don't know if that's different, because I didn't see the first one. Then was that all included in the first contract that you guys retained with her? That whole
contract
section,
had,
that whole section's in it.
Yes,
And then I think that you probably don't have to do that. Let me see.
right.
All right. And then the other question thing that Joe and I sort of talked about was whatever money is left over, that could, perhaps she can continue to do her work until hopefully in December we get another infusion.
grant.
And if we don't, we can sort out things at that time. So maybe we don't need a resolution to do
So-
anything else.
We just need to be sort of in agreement with continuing with NAN to continue the process of.
She needs to fulfill the agreement, which means continue the process.
Well, we need to allow her to do that because we have to be in agreement if we want to like the committee's recommendation, do we want to adopt that?
We're not going to adopt them right immediately. We need to go through,
We have to pursue,
have her guide us through that process.
well, we have to pursue. I mean, is anybody against the recommendations? Do we
Well, I
want to
think some of
continue
the
with it? Do we want to,
recommendations need
like,
to-
that's what we need to discuss.
Right, some of those recommendations with her present need to be discussed in order to look at what exactly did this mean? Do we want to adjust some of them to maybe be a little bit more strict or less strict? And they made a recommendation, for instance, down in Washington Hollow, do you want to limit the zone to what is existing now, or do you want to look at maybe extending it up along that bypass a little bit further up to the Orvis area? Make that the commercial zone. Those are the kinds of things that they're recommending to look at, but we have to make the decision of, do we go with that? Do we extend it? Plus the question of how long does this process take? It's not going to be a month. She's indicating it's going to take 5-6 months.
So she emailed
That's
Joe
right.
and Gary and I back at 4:00 today, so I'm just seeing this for the first time. So the total contract with me, do we want to do this now? I can read this, the email.
Go ahead,
to
sure,
everybody.
yeah, sure.
With me was for $48,960. I have billed, including the meeting with the town board last week, $37,840. That leaves $11,120 for phase 2. In my proposal, part of that phase 2 work was making comp plan update recommendations. That was written thinking phase 1 would lead to a yes or no to update the plan. But in reality, phase 1 led to a whole lot of comp plan update recommendations anyway. So the remaining funding could be used to update the plan. Parenthetically, it could be as easy as making it an addendum and then going through the adoption process and use the money for zoning changes.
Right.
I have refreshed the proposal I gave to you for the CFA. The original is now labeled option 1, but if you want to save time and money, you could do minor edits to the comp plan, cover introduction, and add the entire hospitality study as an addendum to the plan. That would save a lot, shown in option 2. This reduces the comp plan update portion from 10,000 to 5,000. And I think that is generous if there are no substantial edits to the plan other than creating an addendum and referencing it. It depends on how the town wants to approach this. I see nothing wrong with this option, and if there are few public comments and the meetings are limited, and we just do some minor rework to show how and why it was updated with the hospitality study. But if you want it more integrated into the goals as outlined in the study, that too can be done. Anyway, these are the figures. So I think my thought in just reading this is that I circulate what she's submitted to everybody. And because part of it is going to be, I mean, it can be an addendum in principle, but then it really comes down to the zoning, actually.
Yes.
So that,
Yeah.
I think that might be where it gets passed off to Jim Stout or Jeff or whoever to help kind of
So-
actual draft the specifics to the spirit of that document. Does
So
that
the
make any sense?
comprehensive plan is different from exactly
Zoning.
the zoning. So do
Right.
we want to,
But maybe it's
Do you know
worth
what I
having
mean?
a Zoom with her, with all of us, and with council to ask her those questions and how
Yes.
that process is, because I think that's two separate items, right?
so when we circulate this, and then we'll circulate it with Mary as well,
right now.
and then we can discuss, like, set up yet another meeting with Nan to have her discuss with us what your concerns are. Right.
Implementation.
Yeah,
It's not a public meeting in that we're revealing the data. This is now taking the rules and applying them to the game. And how do you get those into that game? Which is the zoning codes.
right.
And discuss things. I mean, that issue in Mattisville.
Well,
Should
and
we discuss?
yeah, I mean,
I need
the report that I read many times over, I agree with almost all the points in there. Mattisville, I do not agree with. And Washington Hollow definitely has to have zoning changed. And so those are two items. The hospitality plan that was presented to us says to leave Mattisville alone. So that's one place I'd like to see a change. And I'm only one vote, so, I mean, I speak against that. but-
Maybe we go through each of the, I mean, it might be a long meeting with her, I don't know, and sort of, or with each other, going through each of the recommendations and having a
And to
discussion.
understand the concepts.
Right.
I don't understand the concept because I wasn't around when the Mavisville thing occurred. So I don't know why that kind of restriction was placed just on one section of the community
Yeah,
and
that's,
doesn't apply to the entire community.
Yeah, it was a Hamlet
And
mixed
does that
use.
become
It's the only place we
spot
have Hamlet
zoning
this.
thing? I don't know the history of it.
Yeah.
So I can't make a judgment on it because I don't know it.
I don't know why it would have been so restrictive. That's holy cow.
Or if that works, why
It
are
was
other areas
pretty simple
restricted?
why, I could tell you right now
No.
why Mavisville's like that.
I mean,
It's, nobody wanted to see Mavisville because, I mean, people had McDonald's in their mind and, a Starbucks drive-through and, but you can restrict all of that in your zoning changes, so that's why that,
But to have that
twice as
formula-
much residential has to be there to have any commercial growth. And, to be honest with you, since we passed that law, we've allowed businesses in Mavisville by special permit, going totally against that. I mean, the
and we've done that
nursery,
with Washington Hollow
well, the
too.
nursery's one. That was a residential house there where Murphy's Nursery was. It was Rollins back then, Rollins Nursery, who came to us. It was a great use of the land. Nobody was going to buy that house. That house was for sale for, he passed away and the house was for sale for five years. It was all grown up in weeds.
So that's the kind of thing we can discuss with Nan.
Yeah,
Well,
I
yeah.
think it may be a longer discussion than a town, or we may want to have I don't know how.
See, if we get together and discuss with Nan like this, we have to advertise it and we're going to be bombarded with residents.
I don't know though,
That's-
Jeff, can't we have a discussion with
workshop?
council?
Can you do workshops?
I would say if you've got a quorum of the board.
Right.
Yeah, that's a
and you're
meeting.
Discussing town business, it's a meeting.
It's a meeting,
Yeah.
and you would be just like the other day. I
It's
mean, it would
not as
just,
though you're meeting
Right.
with counsel for legal advice. That's not really what the intent of that meeting is.
But it kind of is if we're talking about zoning, wouldn't that be us looking to get, I don't know, maybe we're not talking about zoning.
we're
we're
looking
talking
for
about principle.
advice. And, but there's no way of us doing this without
No, I guess we
inviting the
could
public.
always
You know what I
have
mean?
a
Or it's not the
meeting.
whole board?
Well, can we have a meeting with the public and not have public input?
Right,
Yes, it's not a public
Yeah.
hearing. You don't have to take input. They can observe. They don't necessarily have an opportunity.
We did that with the
Right.
comp plan.
Mhm.
I did it with, when I did the water, the.
So I agree with
wetlands
Mike,
law.
let's have a meeting, let's meet.
Okay.
We'll meet with them.
Yeah.
So we have
I
to
think we do.
circulate this.
I just did,
You
I just
you
sent it
did.
to all of you.
So then we'll just set up a special meeting with Nan again. And then
Yeah.
we'll be done with that. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Anything else, Bill?
Let me just put my notes.
Well, again, if the public was on, I would talk about Community Day on Saturday, but.
What is going on with that?
There's a lot going on.
But I'll be on
Corn building.
Thorn Building and Bennett.
Are they
It's gonna be
touring
a-
the Thorn building again?
No, they're not. There'll be a booth on George Whalen's lawn
Oh,
for question and answer and
Great.
suggestion box and all that.
Yeah,
So-
I can't be there.
Yeah. So that'll happen.
across the street.
Okay.
All right, that's it.
Okay.
Okay,
Honestly.
I wish I had a shorter date, but it's a little bit, I'm not going to make it one of my more epic long ones, but, so the ZBA met on August 16th. They had 3 applications before them. First was from the O'Brien Sims family, which is a property on the west side of Mabbittsville Road near Ruby's. The family wants to put in a garage. There's a 30-foot setback required there. They're requesting it'd be 24 feet from the corner of the property line just because of where the only place where the garage could be located. They can't move it anywhere else because of septic. The committee opened it to a public hearing. There was no public comment. Ruby's did offer a letter saying that they're absolutely fine with the garage, and 6 other neighboring owners said they were fine. It was just used for a garage and not for any residential purposes. So Chairman
Or
Parisi.
business, right?
Or business, exactly. Anything other than just a garage or a workshop. So they made a motion to approve the variance to 25.5 feet on the side yard, provided that the owner provide a notarized letter to Chairman Parisi stating that they in fact will only be using it as a garage and workshop and not for residential purposes. The second application was for the Palinkases. They had a permit back in the day to add a new porch to their house. They started construction and they stopped, and the permit expired. It's too long for them to currently reopen the permit, and I guess in doing so, they realized that it's non-conforming and they need a special permit and an area variance. So they were granted a variance on the front yard setback from the ZBA, but it was referred to the planning board for the special permit. I have to check my planning board notes to see why it would be a special permit, but I think it's because it's a non-conforming property. The third application was from the Carbone family, who's looking to add a deck and a sunroom to their house. And there was no public comment on the application. The property also is non-conforming, and it's very straightforward. I guess it's a 14-foot setback. They're asking for, or variance there, they're asking, or setback requirement rather, they're asking for 11.5 feet, and it was approved. So that was a pretty straightforward ZBA meeting. The planning board met on Tuesday night. They had several applications before them. The first was the Wolf Clark application, which I've mentioned to you all before. They first came to the planning board back in June, and at our last meeting I had mentioned that they couldn't make a determination because Steve Marino had COVID, and so he couldn't go to the meeting. The question was their addition that they're putting on, they're trying to connect two structures, would be in the wetlands buffer, but it currently already is in the wetlands buffer. It's non-conforming already. Steve actually advised that advised the planning board that what they're doing is actually beneficial. So it's not actually wetlands there, it's a water body, but it does connect with wetlands. Because they are moving the structure 9 feet further away from the buffer, and they have a very extensive landscape plan that I guess is going to create a more natural environment leading up to this water body. It's actually better for the environment than what they have there. They did open it for a public hearing. Her neighbor was there complimenting their efforts and their plans. It's all very positive. The CAC also did a walkthrough of the property, I should mention, between the August meeting. They were very satisfied with it, as what Susan Meany also from the planning board also did a site inspection with the CAC. A lot of talk about balancing the property owner's rights and the wetlands law. A lot of talk about the spirit of the wetlands law, and that this project was very much in the spirit of it. So the special permit, the wetlands permit was approved on the condition that Steve Marino get the final approval on the species list. They didn't provide what types of plants they're going to be planting in the wetlands buffer zone, but that they provided the landscape plan. So once Steve gets the final okay,
So
they've already approved it, and it's good to go, which is great. They still have to go before the ZBA for a variance approval on another structure on that property. The second application was called Apollo Fields. It's for a special use permit for an addition. The owner of that property actually withdrew their application. They want to go back to their plans and then resubmit. Third application was the Samuel Shore Cottage. It's for an accessory structure. They already have a permit. They have a permit to build the structure, but they don't have a permit to put in a kitchen and a bathroom. So they had to come back for this special, is it a special use permit? One second, let me look at my notes here. For an accessory use.
Right.
And so this was really just a workshop meeting for this applicant, and they have referred it for public hearing at the October meeting. Fourth applicant, Estes Joanne. It's a lot line adjustment off of Jameson Hill Road. They wanted to add 1/8 of an acre to their property in this one corner that made sense to have a straighter line. It's a very simple type 2 action. It was approved. The public hearing was waived and it was approved. And the last was the Palinka site plan for the front porch. I mentioned their front porch. They went to the ZBA. This is for a special permit. They've just referred it again for a public hearing in October, but that's moving forward with that for their porch. Last night, the CAC met. Chairman Schneibel sort of opened a discussion of the National Resource Inventory, that they'll continue to kind of work on that and update NAN's maps after the county, I guess, is going to be producing revised and updated maps, county maps this spring. They've no update yet on the CSC, which is the Climate Smart Communities Initiative. The village has its own committee, and they're actually moving forward and kind of beginning their work. Tiffany Zazula from PACE referred me to a person that does free trainings for towns on how to create CSC, so I passed that along to Margaret so that they can get that group together and get some guidance, sort of like we did with PACE, on how to do that so that there's a real direction and kind of guidelines for how they should move forward. Howard Schuman provided some updates on his impressions from the planning board meeting on Tuesday night. He talked about the Wolf Clark application and the wetlands buffer and the determinations there, which I've already covered. And that's it, really. There was a little discussion at the end. People were asking Mike Herzog about the firehouse sign and these conversations around that. But that's really all that happened at the CAC. My other 2 items were PACE and the septic hookup, which I've already covered.
Yeah.
So that's all for me.
Okay.
Great. Okay. You're the only public left, so do you have any questions for us?
So do you
Or-
currently have Climate Smart? Or you're looking to?
No, so the town board did approve, we passed a resolution, rather,
To be clear.
designating us as a climate smart community. The CAC is taking the lead on that. They have, actually, they submitted our resolution so that we were formally approved in August by the state, recognized by the state, which will really help us with the CFA grant.
Good points. Yeah.
For point. But I'll include you, Danielle, when we have that.
Because the valley has a bronze already in their Climate Smart,
Do that.
and they have, and I've worked with them. I'm currently trying to help them get a grant.
Oh,
for,
great.
It's anywhere from 1,000 to, I'll probably say 100,000, to put different gardens out, and we started doing composting.
Come right up here.
Oh, that's great. That's great. What I was going to say is, I bet you, or not bet you, but I'm thinking as you just mentioned that there might be ways that the rec could get involved, whether it's recycling or
Yeah.
gardening, whatever that we could
Right.
we could get
We
grant money
started
for, and
composting
would
with the
be
kids over the summer with their lunches.
oh,
They
great.
brought in things that they went home with buckets from Climate Smart, and they brought back their composting so they could see how composting works. Our Climate Smart worked with them to teach them how to do
Oh,
composting.
that's
yeah.
great.
So we have a really strong base for our Climate Smart, and I'm sure that they'd be happy to share information with you. And how they
Oh,
gain.
that would be great. I think right now we're trying to find, or the CAC is identifying people that really want to own that program, because it is quite a bit of work to get it set up. And they certainly, Pam Scott, who was here earlier, she was very involved in it, as was Shannon Ledoux, who's a CAC, you know Shannon, of course, exactly. She works at Cary, so they had they were very excited about the town being supportive of their efforts. It's just a matter of us getting somebody who can really spearhead it. The village has a person, a resident whose name's escaping me now, who's leading their committee. And I think it would make sense for the village and the town, which we've talked about with village residents, and actually Mike, who's on the village trustee, about how we can coordinate our efforts too with the village on the CSC stuff. But Pleasant Valley would be great, for sure.
I'm actually touring tomorrow, to work on the grant with them.
Really?
Yeah.
Who are you applying? I'm very excited about grants, Danielle. I mean, I just,
Well, talking
to
about
me,
the
it's
big
like,
grant
oh.
from earlier, the
Yeah.
first thing that you guys talked about, that's where I had the big grant. So I was kind of wondering how they're gonna give money to tear down that building if it's not in their language that they use to create their,
The grant.
because usually in that grant,
I think it was.
it was.
I'm pretty sure it was in my
You got
conversation with the
grants for
fire
bathrooms,
chief.
right?
Right. I'm pretty sure it was in there because
like
they
I-
said that they have a spot picked out and that there's an old building and they could utilize the foundation for the building that they want to put up. So I'm pretty sure it was in their grant. So we'll find out.
So that's great to hear.
I could forward you the grant that they're looking into.
Yes, that'd be great.
It has like a month before it's due.
Okay.
Leslie works great under pressure, so.
I got it. Yeah, actually we did. Mary and I
it's
got
like-
that last one
yeah.
in, and it's amazing how, I don't know if every grant's as cumbersome as the CFA grant, but that was really something. So,
Okay,
any
Danielle,
advice
anything else? Okay. So I think we're gonna shut down and pay
Okay.
bills.
All right.
All right, make a motion,
Motion,
close the
Oh,
public hearing.
second?
adjourn.
Adjourn.
We're not adjourning, we're coming into.
Pay the bills.
Pay bills.
Pay bills.
But that's a second motion.
So,
All in favor of
Aye.
closing the meeting, all in favor of paying the bills?
all right, I'm just gonna end the Zoom meeting.
Yep.
Have a good night.
Thank you.
Danielle,
Good night,
thank you so
Danielle.
much.
Thanks
And
for
Danielle,
staying.
I can help with anything. I mean, you have my number, so, I'm